I'm going to read some passages from Women and Girls with Autism Spectrum Disorder by Sarah Hendricks. If you're new here, I am quite newly realized autistic, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. I've lost track, but quite new. And I'm just reading passages from this book that I resonate with the most. Also, if you're not new here and you were hoping I was going to read more of the Unmasking Autism book that I did one video on, I'm sorry, but I completed that book and didn't have anything else that any other passages that I really felt like reading. Okay, back to this book. An important thing to note, and that has been seen in research and elsewhere, is that girls with ASD want to do well, comply, and not get into trouble. As professionals, if we always keep in mind that when a girl is doing something that on the face of it appears rude, diffident, or downright obstructive, she is, in fact, trying her hardest to do the right thing, regardless of how it might appear. We can support her by understanding what she is trying to say or do and teach her a new way of doing it in the future. I think I somehow got through life pretty well without doing things that looked rude or that looked bad, at least in any major way. But I relate so deeply to being desperate to do my best and be good and follow the rules. That kind of anxiety plagued my whole childhood and beyond. And even with my ADHD, one of the things that kind of became trauma with it was things like being forgetful and people assuming that my forgetfulness meant I didn't care enough. Absolutely shattered me every time that I tried really hard, and people assumed the worst about me because they didn't understand what I was struggling with. New passage. This is why the diagnosis at any age can come as such a relief. It explains everything. It makes sense of everything. And women with autism need to make sense of everything. Needing to make sense of everything definitely etched in my bones. New passage. With regard to small talk, adult women with ASD don't like it or get it any more than they did when they were teenagers. Difficulties with nonverbal cues can also result in interrupting and missing the flow of conversation. This, combined with a preference for talking about oneself and one's own interests, all add up to someone whose conversation style is not always appreciated. Definitely guilty of this. I always assumed that my difficulty with interrupting was an ADHD thing. And I'm not saying it's not, maybe it still is, but it was interesting to me to see that this is considered an ASD thing as well. New passage. There is nothing that stresses a person with autism more than a lack of logic or an unnecessary lie. We find them baffling. The unanswerable question of autism, which is always accompanied by a creased forehead, is, why do people do that? Definitely super guilty of asking chronically, why do they do that? I have always wanted to make sense of people, to figure out what motivates people, just what makes them tick. I find people fascinating. That's a lot of where my psychology interest comes from, is just what are they thinking, what are they feeling, how are they perceiving things. Having their own words and motivations frequently misunderstood leads women with autism to self-censorship, requiring them to be on red alert to every single thought before they utter it. This is extremely true for me, not only before I utter my thoughts, but before I kind of even let myself really absorb them. Everything has to go through a logic filter, emotions, thoughts, etc. And I think that not understanding that is part of why I misunderstood what autism can look like, or why I didn't think I could have it, was I am so overly filtered that I don't have that history of being told that I was rude or inappropriate or offending people or things like that, which is a chronic experience of some people with autism. But for those who develop this chronic over filtering, you're not going to come off as inappropriate. You're going to skew towards not saying anything instead of risking upsetting people. It's kind of hiding the disability because it doesn't make you any more socially aware with what is or isn't safe if you just over filter yourself to make sure that you're on the safe side. New passage. Women with autism are generally not team players and prefer to go it alone while doing tasks and projects. This is interesting because if somebody said, like, are you a good team player? Yes, like, I'm not going to have a fight or have drama or whatever if I need to work with other people. That being said, do I like that or find that easy? Not at all. I would much prefer to do things myself. I absolutely hated group projects, especially like group presentations as kids, just so uncomfortable. I had such bad social anxiety that, like, starting in, I think, third grade is the first time I remember doing this. I would make deals with people that would be like, I will do all of the research, write the paper, I'll do basically everything if you will stand up and present it when we're done. I don't want to say a word at the actual presentation. I will do all of the work. You just present it. A lot of kids are really happy to make that exchange because they don't want to do the work. I didn't mind doing the work. I didn't want to say anything in front of people. I think that's another example of how I would have told you that I am a good team player, but doing way more than your fair share isn't really being a good team partner either, especially when it's like, I'll do all of this independently and you do that part independently. Like, that's not really being a team player. New passage. This part is on sensory stuff, and it's talking about a study where they looked at sensory issues. It said the most commonly mentioned issues were crowded places and situations that were overwhelming from a holistic sensory perspective, rather than because of any one particular sensory stressor. New passage on coping with change and uncertainty. Somebody's anecdote, but I just felt every word of it. I hate it when people change plans, but I never let it show because I'm supposed to be flexible. This leads people to think I can handle anything. I tell them it's fine, but it's not fine. It's never fine. I think this is yet another thing that, to a large degree, I have gaslit myself on. I feel like I am not that rigid because I can let people break plans and I can emotionally understand that they have a right to break plans. And if they're like sick or they need to not show up, I want them to do that. And I have big feelings about it. This next passage is on clothing. Plain, in general, was preferred to anything over ornate or fussy, and if something fits and works, buying a number of the same item, possibly in different colors, makes logical sense. Yes. I think, am more plain with things like shoes than a lot of women. I currently have 2 pairs of shoes. I have like a super casual pair of shoes and then like nice walking shoes if I'm gonna walk for hours. Like, I'll wear my nicer shoes. A pair of boots, pair of sandals, a couple pairs of dress shoes. That's it. I only ever own one purse at a time, and I use it until it like falls apart. Passage. Many interests enjoyed by women with autism can appear fairly common, such as soap operas, cooking, travel, but again, the depth of knowledge and the diligence put into learning is way in excess of a hobby. Definitely true for me. That's it for this one, but I have a few chapters left in this book, at least a few chapters, so I'll be doing more from this book in the future.